No, stop being stupid. Oh, well, shit. I can't classify this book without maybe spoiling a little bit. This shirt really just highlights the red of my beard. Biggest struggle of my life, not eating late, despite being a night owl. Good morning and welcome to the Queer Lit Readathon. Today is Monday, June 1st. The Queer Lit Readathon began yesterday on Sunday, but I've chosen to keep it simple for this quote-unquote vlog, and basically I'm going to give you just daily updates at the beginning of the next day about how the last day went. I already have my Queer Lit TBR video up. You're more than welcome to go to that. So I started reading Believe Me by Eddie Izzard. This is his memoir. Eddie Izzard actually identifies as a transgender woman, but he goes by he or she. Sounds as if he might be a little gender fluid. I'm not sure, he doesn't use that terminology, so I am just going to keep referring to him as a he, since that's one of the ways he prefers to be called. This book, I'm about 65% through it. I have about 2.5 hours left on the audiobook. It is a joyful ride because Eddie Izzard is a gem and an iconic entertainer. However, the book itself is not very good. He begins the book by explaining how he wrote this book by dictating it to someone who wrote it down for him. And that's kind of apparent because it does feel like a stream of consciousness at times. There is the arc of his life, but there's not much of a narrative outside of that. There appears to be a focus on arbitrary moments in his life over others, and it doesn't really quite make sense why. Add on to that the fact that because he's doing a unique audiobook, he reads all of the footnotes, and oftentimes he'll add in extra footnotes onto those, which make for a fantastic audiobook, but not a great book, because it literally seems like we have just as many footnotes as we do actual narrative. And so you can imagine all these different tangents coming up. They bring a life to the audiobook, but they bring chaos to the story. But from what I've heard from people who just read the book, there wasn't much story there to begin with, so it's fair. So I don't see this doing worse than a 3-star at worst, but it's worth noting that it's not much of a substance-based book. That said, it's still interesting to hear about his life. He does spend some time talking about what it's like to be transgender. He talks about his gender and how he still identifies as a transvestite even though he considers himself a woman. He said he feels somewhat boyish, somewhat girlish at times. From that perspective, it's really interesting. I really appreciate him opening up for us, and so I don't want to criticize that for that. I mean, I'm reading the book knowing these criticisms coming in. Part of me wanted to postpone reading it first because I knew this might be the case, but I wanted to because it really was my most anticipated read. I'm hoping to finish that today on Monday. The other book I started yesterday because I was getting kind of tired, granted, of Eddie Izzard was The Bright Lands by John Fram. This is a ebook that I was granted by NetGalley. It comes out, I think, July 7th. I am enjoying it. This was listed as an LGBT work of literary fiction on NetGalley, but people have since labeled it a mystery and a horror novel, and I could see that. I'm not getting horror vibes just yet, but what I am getting is definitely intrigued and interested. And so I'm excited to finish that. That book is nearly 500 pages, so it's not really conducive to a readathon, but I'm still hoping to finish it today. I should tell you what The Bright Lands is about. It is about this gay man who grew up in this Texas town and then left a home because he felt so strangled just by the politics, but as well as just being a gay man, by the society, by the small town vibe. And so he left, but then he left his brother there, and he eventually comes back because his brother is feeling off. And at the beginning of the story, his brother goes missing, and then things begin to progress as they try to figure out what it is that's going on, why is he gone, and things ensue. So, according to my Kindle, at my current rate, I have about 4 hours left on that book. So that, in conjunction with Eddie Izzard's book, that's 6.5 hours. It's 10:30 right now, and I still have to do schoolwork for the day. I think that's achievable. Normally, I would consider 4 hours a day a really good reading day, but if I'm really pushing myself, I could do 7 hours easy. So, hopefully by tomorrow you'll hear me say that I'm done with those 2 books. And that's where we are at. Now, his brother is a quarterback, so as far as I'm concerned, this book will classify as being a queer sports book. You should see the map here. The way I'm treating this is that in my TBR video, I didn't outline where I'm going to put the books, mostly because I had trouble trying to assign them to topics without having read them. So I'm just going to do it along the way so we can find out by the end of the video if I win bingo. I think that'll be for a fun video and just a fun challenge in general. So, and then for Eddie Izzard's book, it definitely counts for nonfiction, and then it also counts for a female over 40 because Eddie is in his 50s. I am excited to keep doing this. I really hope I can get through through all 9 of my books. It's okay if I don't, but today is day 2, so I should be done with my first 2, at the very least, today. And then I'm going to try and push through the rest of the week. My goal is to keep this video as short as possible and as succinct as possible. So I will see you all tomorrow. Hopefully I have a good reading day today. Have fun reading. Okay, hey everybody. Sorry for the delay. It's like 6 p.m. on Tuesday. I had a rough day starting out. I was up late last night because I didn't get really much of any reading done. So I ended up staying up late to try and get something done. Yesterday wasn't a very productive day. Obviously, as this readathon is going on, we have a number of protests and riots in the name of the Black Lives Movement because of the murder of George Floyd. And of course, centuries of racism and murder on top of that. And it's difficult to film this and participate in this as if everything is fine. And I think everyone understands that. I'm not saying it's wrong. We all have our own ways of coping with it. But it is difficult as someone from a southern state being in school in Canada and feel like I can't do anything. Now obviously that's not true. There are resources to which we can contribute to, which I'm trying my best to support during this time, and I encourage you to do so as well. Of course, those will all be linked down below. But still, it's hard not to let it monopolize your time. While I sit here and I talk about how it has disrupted my life, I don't mean to make it sound like I'm complaining. I don't think there's an easy way to talk about this at all. But the problem is I don't like doing this during this that's going on and pretending like nothing's happening, because it is happening. And the silence is complicity. So it's happening, it's there, this is real. And I'm glad that I'm in a position to where I can still try and put some of my focus into this readathon to bring some joy into my life. And I know it's a very privileged position. I have to say that. This is also a platform to which I not only share my views, but to which I have a responsibility to show support and use the platform, however small it might be, to support it. And it's just one of the many ways in which I'm trying to do that. This was just a hard thing to talk about, but it had to be said. That said, I did get some work done today. I managed to get a decent amount of focus in. I'm here to do more reading. I finished Believe Me by Eddie Izzard. It was a 3.5 out of 5 star. I don't know if it really deserved that. I think I'm going to be a little bit generous because I do feel like I dealt it a bad hand in the sense that it doesn't really fit into a readathon. It's a 14-hour audiobook narrated by a very British sounding man. Me trying to get through it so quickly undoubtedly is going to affect the experience. On top of the fact that, like, to me, it wasn't as much a book as it was a podcast. Like, I enjoy podcasts, but if you try and binge them all at once, it does get kind of old. And I feel like I probably would have enjoyed it more if I had taken my time with it. I mean, there were some interesting tidbits, even if as a whole it didn't really hold together as a story. It was still interesting. I would recommend it if you're a fan. He does go into some really interesting details about his childhood, about what it's like to be trans, and his experience in Hollywood as a trans woman. But yeah, so it was a book that really should only be read for the joy of having this shared experience with Eddie. It wasn't that great of a book though, unfortunately. Now, I'm still going to call it a book with a female over 40. It is also a nonfiction book, and you might call it a backlist as well. It is from 2018. Top of that, The Bright Farms by John Fram. I have not made any progress, unfortunately. That said, I did start Michael Cunningham's The Hours. This was made into a movie, as I said in my TBR, Meryl Streep, among others. Honestly, when I first watched the movie, I was much younger and I didn't really understand what was going on. And while I've only just started this, I do think I'm following along a bit better. I'm always worried with literary fiction because it is, while short, often very dense, and I'm always concerned that I'm not going to be able to give it the attention it needs to really grasp all the concepts there. But so far, I'm intrigued. It's a very short book. It's like 6 hours long, so I should definitely get through this today and hopefully make good progress on John Fram's book still. For this, it appears like there may be characters in here over 40. I'm not sure. It basically these 3 tangential stories, one of which is going to be Virginia Woolf, if I understand, and the themes of which are compared, or how they compare and contrast those 3 lives, 3 different points in time. I'm not that far into it, but I would like to get through it today. That will definitely count as a backlist probably, so that's where I'm at. I haven't decided what I'm going to read after Michael Cunningham's book. Part of that is just because I'm picking randomly using a quantum number generator. Completely random. I don't know what's coming up next. I did choose to read Eddie Izzard's book first. That was a choice. I wanted to get to it. I'll get back to you tomorrow, hopefully with 2 books done, at least 1. Boom, bada, boom, ba, boom. Good morning, everyone. It's Wednesday, 9 a.m. I think I don't have my watch on. So I finished the book. That's exciting. The Hours by Michael Cunningham. I think I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this. I definitely understood it more than when I watched the movie. That said, I think I probably could do with another reread, but I thought it was a really well-told story, very succinct, and really interwove these 3 different narratives, these 3 different figures, all connected throughout these 3 different times, following Virginia Woolf as she approaches her suicide, a woman in the 1950s who is, I believe, reading Virginia Woolf, a queer woman who has the name of one of the characters from Virginia Woolf's book, taking care of her dying gay friend who has AIDS. I really enjoyed it. It was really well told. While it was difficult at times, it was definitely something that I enjoyed reading. It did make me cry a couple times. I wouldn't say it was necessarily because I was crying over the actual story, more so as I think I was triggered by some of the topics that it covered, right? I definitely enjoyed it a lot. It was really good. I definitely want to rewatch the movie. I thought it was funny how he references Meryl Streep in this multiple times. It was at Meryl Streep. And then Meryl Streep is the actual movie. It's kind of funny. I didn't make any more progress on The Brightland, again, by John Fram. I'm going to try and get that today. I think what it was is I keep trying to start a new audiobook, but I've been so behind that every time I start a new audiobook, it means I don't have any time to read any more of the ebook. I really want to get to it today, and I think I will, because I am almost done with this already. Alien Echo by Mira Grant, aka Shauna McGuire. I have, I think, 2 hours or less on this, and this is like a 8-hour book. No, it was like a 4-hour book when I double speed it, so I'm like halfway, I guess. Not that far, but I'm still fairly close. It's like it's within reach. I might be able to finish this morning before I start working. I've been really enjoying it. It's probably going to be a solid 4-star. I haven't decided yet. The start, like the first third of the book, is really slow. It's just like teen angst, and like it's fine. It's not something I'm interested in. But when it starts picking up, it really starts picking up. This shit gets real. What I really like about it is that she is creating this really unique version of the story. Like it's not like a ripoff. At the same time, you can expect all the major plot points, like all the major aspects of the other stories to be included in this. I don't want to say which ones. I don't want to spoil it, but I like how she's clearly referencing the movies. Like this is from that, this is from that, almost as if we should have seen it coming. That's everything I have to talk about today. I will let you know what I start tomorrow once I've started it. It's Wednesday. I have 5 more books to read, not including the 2 I've already started. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That's 3 days. If I can finish these today, all I have to do is read a book a day plus 2 books inside of there somewhere. It's not impossible, but it might be impossible. Good morning. Or is it afternoon? Nope, still morning. Almost 12 o'clock though. Had a slow start, but today is a new day. It is Thursday in the Queer Lit Readathon. Guess who finished Alien Echo? It was me. How'd you guess? I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. The first start of the story, I may have said this yesterday, I don't remember, it was slow. It was basically the teenage story, which never really goes away, but once we get that sort of set in stone, the story really progresses to being an alien type story, and shit gets real. And it was a lot of fun. I love Shauna McGuire / Mira Grant's writing, and while I didn't love the teenage romance side, I mean, it is a teenage YA novel, so it makes sense that she would use that and invest in that as a part of the story. So that was fun. Yeah, so I really enjoyed this. I thought this was a bi character, but turns out she is only gay. She's a lesbian, but the girl she's with, I think she's bi. But of course, that's not a main character, so it doesn't count here. So let's think about it. Okay, so where do I put this? I'm going to include it in rainbow because of the green. From my understanding, it only needs to be a color from the rainbow, which I know is pretty easy, but it's a very vibrant green, so I'm counting that for the rainbow. Other than that, non-coming out story, I'm going to count it there as well. So let's move on to the next book that I'm reading. Ask the Passengers by A.S. King. I've only just started this. I'm like 10% through it, but I'm enjoying it so far. I mean, it's A.S. King, and I'm pretty sure the main character is bi. So, you know what that means. It means I have bingo. That's right. Yay, we did it. Oh, wait. I just realized something. They also have bingo in the nonfiction rainbow queer friends category. Ask the Passengers might go in other places as well, but I haven't gone far enough to figure that out. But so far I have 2 bingos. This is exciting. I don't have any queer poetry. Maybe I should just like find an ebook. Also a group read. I should have planned this ahead of time probably. Well, that's where I'm at. I got up early yesterday and I read a lot from Shauna McGuire. Alien Echo. After the school day ended, I didn't get a lot done, honestly. I did get through 45% of Brightlands by John Fram. So I'm inching through that. I have 3 hours left on it, probably 4 hours on Ask the Passengers. I could finish them up today. It probably won't happen. Friday, Saturday. Oh, God. I'm not going to get to all my books, but that's okay. In any case, that's where I am at. I will check in with you on Friday. Hopefully be done with these by Friday. Okay, it's Friday. I haven't done any reading today, but it is already like 1. I finished As the Passengers. I really loved it. It really, really hit home. I think this was the most LGBT-focused book she's written yet. Not that she doesn't always have LGBTQ characters, I believe. I really enjoyed it. It wasn't my favorite of hers. I think part of that was just because it was the most real, as in it lacked a lot of surrealism and the really weirdness that it seems so iconic to her writing. But I still really loved it, and it's hard for me not to give it 5 stars. I don't think I am, because it's just not as great as her other books. I gave it 4.5 just because it really hit hard on this narrative of trying to understand, are you gay? Are you straight? Which is it? I mean, I know it seems like just like your standard coming out story, but it works. It works for me. And of course, it's A as King. So that's done. I'm not sure if I already said this, but it's going to classify as a backlist as well as Queer Friends. I originally labeled this as being bi, but it really isn't that simple. So I'm just going to say I wouldn't classify this as a bi main character. I don't want to go any more in depth. And I also forgot to mention that this was a 5-star prediction. I always assume A as King is going to be a 5-star prediction. The same is true for Anna Marie McLemore if we ever get to their book, which on that note, I didn't make any progress on The Bright Lens by John Fram, but I did start The Library of the Unwritten. There isn't anything that's overtly LGBT related for the story, but I have heard that the main character is bi, so I'm hoping that becomes apparent. If not, I'll have to figure something out because I don't know yet. But I'm enjoying it. I had started it back in January and I DNF'd it, and I started over for this readathon, but I DNF'd it because it wasn't the tone I was hoping for. It was just too... I don't know the word for it. The best way I described it was like it was supernatural versus Haunting of Hill House, because that's really the best way of putting it. It's less realism and more comedic in its style, which is fine. It just wasn't what I was in the mood for at the time. So knowing what it's about this time, which is, to be clear, a library in hell that keeps all the books that haven't been written yet and then shaped very close. That's pretty much it. I love the cover. I love the idea of hell having a library and the stories having their own manifestation sometimes. And so I had to go for it. I'm also pretty sure that the author is queer. I'm not also trying to finish John Fram's book. I haven't made any progress. I'm still at 45% there, so 3 hours left. I guess it's just easy to move on to an audiobook as opposed to trying to deal with an ebook. So I usually go with what's easiest. I do not think I'm going to finish. I have 3 books left. If I'm lucky, I'll have only 2 that I don't get to, meaning I finish this today and maybe John Fram's book. But tomorrow, Saturday, the last day, there is a protest here in London, Ontario, where I live, and I'm going to be attending it, so I'm not sure how much of my day is going to be used up for that. So chances are I won't get much reading done tomorrow. So I'll be lucky if I get 1 more book done after these 2. And that's okay. I have other books I want to read this month, so if I don't get to these, I still plan on trying to get to them. They have been sort of sidelined. I'm not as committed to finishing all of them, but I would say that I still have bingo in one place, and I'm hoping this book will give me bingo in another place. And I don't have poetry and a graphic novel yet. I don't have a graphic novel or a disabled in main character. Honestly, I mean, I have something for almost all of these. I think that's pretty good. It's always about doing everything. It's either everything or nothing. That's how I see it. I'm just joshing. This shirt really just highlights the red of my beard. It's Saturday. Did not finish either book. Didn't make any progress on John Fram's The Bright Lens, but I did almost finish The Library of the Unwritten. I'm enjoying it, I suppose. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I've been tempted to DNF this again. Like, it's not even overtly bad. I'm just not interested in the characters. And I'm not sure if it's the writer whose writing I think I enjoy and whose story is really creative and fun. Like, I love the idea and the way she's crafting it all. I'm just not finding myself caring about the characters at all. And I'm not sure if it is because of a lack of a failure on the writer's part, or because of everything that's going on. I'm just really distracted when I'm reading this and I'm listening to it. And I'm trying to focus on this, but kind of disconnected at the same time. So that could be the problem here. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to read the next one or not. I kind of want to, because I still love the idea, and these covers are baller. I mean, look at these goddamn covers. And then the sequel, the cover is out, and it just... glorious. It's glorious. I'm going to finish this today for sure. Oh shit, I didn't write it down. We have a bi character, or I'm sorry, she is pan. We have a pan character, so yes, that makes 2 bingos. And maybe non-coming out. Definitely wasn't a 5-star prediction. That's really all I can say. I'm going to try my damnedest to finish The Bright Lens before the end of the day, but I do not see myself having time to finish everything else. The Bright Lens is going to take me 3 hours, and assuming a generous 2 hours for the protest, that would be 8 o'clock. Chances are they're going to have to be postponed. I have decided to prioritize the rest of my June TBR after this because it is very focused on the issues related to the Black Lives Movement, to bring some attention to that and to make use of the moment as an opportunity to educate myself and others. I think most of all I really want to get to Anna Marie McLemore book, because the only 2 books that I had a 5-star prediction of were A as King's and theirs. So I'd like to get to that before the month is over. Chances are you're going to see me tomorrow summing up these 2 books that I just finished with 3 left over, which is fine. I really think I should not have read Eddie Izzard's book. It was not conducive to a readathon. If I had done that, I probably could have gotten through most of these. It is what it is, right? Honestly, I've gotten through four books. And it's the 5th of June, the 6th of June, and I should be finishing 2 today. So that's 6 books. Last month, it took me like 2.5 weeks to get through 4 books. So this readathon is still successful, right? It's successful. I'm gonna finish the audiobook and get ready to go to the protest. I'll see y'all tomorrow to wrap this up. Hello. It's Sunday. The readathon is over. Let's talk about what Josh read. The Library of the Unwritten. I finished it. I enjoyed it. I'm torn because I don't think it's a bad story, and I think most people are going to love this book. I didn't love it, but I did really enjoy it, so I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was fun to read, easy to read, and really creative, honestly. And I'm not giving up on reading the next book just yet, but my biggest problem was I just couldn't connect with the characters. I think I said that yesterday when I was talking about my introduction to it. And it didn't really solve that. Maybe towards the end I cared a bit more about what's happening, and I did like the ending, but all in all, I just wasn't invested. And as I said yesterday, part of that might just be the mindset that I've had this week, where it's hard to focus on reading in general with everything that's going on. So I don't want to blame the book entirely, especially since I feel like the book is really creative. And maybe the book is flawed in how well it developed his characters in a bad way or a good way. Honestly, I just didn't care that much either way. I didn't care if they lived or if they died. And that's the problem. I'm all for characters that are dislikable, as long as you make me care about disliking them. I still feel like I can see a lot of people liking this book, and it's got a decent rating, I think 4 stars on Goodreads. I don't want to put out this perception that I think the book shouldn't be read. Honestly, I feel like maybe give it a try. It's a cool idea. I felt like overall the execution wasn't that bad. It's just the character work. The character work was so foundational to me that it undermined my enjoyment of it. It felt kind of like a chore by the end of it. I wasn't happy that I had to read it. And then The Brightlands. Unfortunately, I did not finish it before the day was over. It was 12 o'clock. I had 2 hours left on it, so I made it like 55% through the book. Now, I did finish it this morning. I stayed up like 2 o'clock last night reading an extra 2 hours, and it got me really interested. I almost wanted to finish it last night, but I got tired and I wanted to go to bed. I was also getting hungry, and I didn't want to eat that late. Biggest struggle of my life, not eating late, despite being a night owl. In any case, I finished it this morning when I woke up, and I'm going to count it. The reason I decided to push through it for this video is because it is a NetGalley arc, and I wanted to include it in this video because I felt like it does deserve to get a discussion. I like this book, and I want people to know this is coming out soon. So, The Brightlands. This is about a man who is gay, and he left his Texas home when he was younger because of a town that is toxic and homophobic, and he returns eventually for his brother because his brother is there with his mother, and he knows that he's probably not, there was something off, and so he went to go see his brother. And then when he's there in town, soon after he gets there, something happens, and it introduces us to this web of something going on. And we try and figure out what's going on by jumping from perspective to perspective. Our main character, named is Joel, he is gay. Now, we don't focus exclusively on him. We get multiple perspectives with a focus on different characters. This book basically is about Joel and others in the town trying to figure out what happened. What turns out to be the case is, I think, very unexpected. I thought this book did a really good job walking this line of, what are we dealing with? Is this supernatural, or is this just some creep who did this horrific thing? And it's really difficult, I think, for books to do that. I feel like usually it feels like it's so obviously not supernatural or so obviously supernatural, and this one really walks the line effortlessly. A lot of people are calling this horror, and I guess I can see why that is, but I don't think that is the appropriate genre here. One thing I really loved about this book was that it was kind of genre bending. It was like literary fiction mixed with mystery with a hint of horror. There were some horror aspects, but the overall tone of the book didn't feel like horror. So to call it that seems a little disingenuous. And I'd also say that as looking at what the publisher called it on NetGalley, they didn't call it a horror book, or even a thriller for that matter, or mystery. So I think it's not quite the right way of describing it. That said, I think it was well written. Thought it was really well done. It kept me engaged. Honestly, I kind of want to buy the audiobook when it comes out and listen to it, because I'm curious how my experience will be different, with a talented narrator helping me get more engrossed in the story. All in all, I was happy with it. I was satisfied with where it went. It definitely deals a lot with homophobia in the South, and that is a big part of this. I saw one person describe it as Stephen King meets Grindr, and I don't think that's a bad description. I do think it's like a Stephen King novel addressing like the horrors of Grindr. There's very little Grindr in this book. It's just this idea of gay sexuality and some horrors that can exist in that community, especially in the South. So all in all, very happy. I would recommend this book, 4 out of 5 stars. This is his first book. I definitely want to read more by this author. Now, let's see. I put it on Summer Vibes and as Queer Sports, but I'm not getting poetry anyways. If I was being honest, I only got one bingo, but I'm not going to be honest because I'm a dishonest person. You should know that because I want to be upfront with you. I don't want to lie to you about this. I really could have finished it on time, but after the protest, I was really exhausted. I wasn't even sure if I was going to stay up and do anything. I didn't get my video up yesterday like I wanted to, so hopefully you'll see this today.
Just did a bad thing.
Yeah, all in all, honestly, it's not a bad readathon at all. I mean, sure, I was a failure, but that's only because I set myself up to fail. Doesn't mean it wasn't also a success. I'm going to avoid going into a tangent on the nature of success and failures, but I like this. This was fun. It was difficult, of course, to read with everything going on, but at the same time, I appreciate the creators for doing this because it still gives us an opportunity to focus on queer problems, queer stories, queer narratives, which it's not as if there's this dichotomy where we can only do one. We could do both. And everything that's been going on has made me think about the fact that I don't think there was a single person of color featured in any of my books. And I take full responsibility for that. I'm trying to put forth an active effort of finding, one, more queer books in general, which I don't read enough of, and two, queer books by people of color. I look forward to the next queer event, which I think is in September or August or something like that. It's coming up in the next few months. And while it seems very far away, this felt far away back in March. And I don't know how the fuck that happened, but we're here. I'll see y'all then, unless you stay and subscribe, which I encourage you to do. If you like this video, make sure you hit like below. Have a great day. I hope you all stay safe and have a lovely Pride Month. Bye.